I'm going to teach you a trick that increases joy and fortifies memory in the brain. It strengthens emotional connections, but also helps you think better. I want you to think of a story that you love and that may really stick out to you. You might notice that that story is really sensory rich. My example is of when I was in Fayetteville last week, and there were a couple of guys telling me about someone that they knew and how he dyed his hair black to get rid of the red hair. And they were so excited when telling this story and about how everyone called him a pirate and all of these things. And just seeing the looks on their faces and how lit up they were, it suddenly hit me how sensory rich the memory was. And it also taught me that I was feeling the emotion too, like I was brought into that moment. And so I don't just remember and can almost see that story in my own mind, but I can also remember what it was like to engage in that story with them. So that's the power of story and memory, but specifically sensory memory. When there's a lot of detail and there's something where you really feel into it, and the memory itself is just super codified by those sensory pieces. So I'm going to teach you this trick. And it's a sensory meditation, but specifically modified for operators for their needs, background, and then brain health as well. You also don't need to go in the corner and meditate and be like weird for a couple minutes. So this is the why behind the approach. It increases brain health and memory. It creates the memories you want to keep. So you have full agency. It's a deposit in your emotional well-being bank account, but also think of it as a future deposit in the well-being bank account of others. So there's increased connection. And it keeps you in the present moment without being swept away by the mind. And there's this concept of backdraft, which it improves because it gives you the ability to let go. So the how is brain health. We'll come back to that. And then the memory, also the need to pay attention, can also be affected by repeated blasts, brain injury, post-traumatic stress, depression, but this is all workable and improvable. The research shows that this exercise and savoring increases capacity for happiness in people who experience fewer daily events that are positive. So even if you are in flux or a strained situation, you can still feel happy. The sense of isolation and loneliness is one of the biggest needs of operators. And there also may be a feeling of less connection when used to being in super deep relationships on a team. And there can be family situations or a feeling of loss of purpose. So no matter the relationship, savoring positively influences connections through that increased positive emotions, even when it's a long distance relationship. And remembering sensory rich experiences like memories of the past. Now, focus. Well, anyone with a history in special operations has a skill set to adapt quickly and also the ability to be extremely focused and zoned in. It can be hard to turn off when it's time to relax, or it can feel like those low intensity experiences are harder to be mentally present for. So zoned in focus increases stress hormones. So we want more of an open focus because that's going to increase oxytocin, which is that hormone of love and connection. And then stress can also be a habit due to that muscle memory of handling busy situations from a history of living in that high allostatic overload. But then backdraft. So the part of the brain that engages in sensory and savoring can slip into rumination. So specifically the rostral cingulate, which is the brain region most affected in operators. You don't have to remember that. So backdraft may not happen, but it's good to be aware of. Backdraft can be described as when we notice the good or the sense of feeling loved, and then the memories of the bad times or the feeling of being unloved rushes right back in. It's just the brain protecting us. Our brains are excellent at noticing opposites, and the brain might remember the holidays we missed or difficult circumstances. Or when we reminisce, memories can be bittersweet. Because remembering something fondly, but also a time now past. So savoring helps with this because we can be with this new positive experience, those memories, and feel into it while also letting go. We let this sense in slowly rather than flinging the door open to the fire, hence the backdraft. And there's your brain health. And of course, I can go on and on. So message me if you want to know more. So here are the steps. First, set an intention of what you would like to remember, such as your child's smile and the sound of your child's laughter. When engaging, do a mental storm check. Feel into the body, take some breaths, feel your feet on the floor. And in that moment, choose 1 to 2 sensory experiences, such as sight. So noticing the variations of light on the child's face, the high and low tones of laughter. And you want to immerse yourself in the experience, savoring it to the fullest. So turn the mind to sensations again and again when you notice it has wandered. Final step is letting the experience go. You don't have to stay with it or linger on it. The analogy for this exercise is that of a honeybee going from flower to flower. So when the experience is complete, you let it go and move on. So this can take, a couple of minutes. You can come back to this exercise again and again. It's simple, it's quick, and it's highly effective, and it's going to hit multiple targets.